Hey Facebook. I'm going to do this one more time, this presentation on Chester County's 600 elected positions. This is not just for people who live in Chester County. This is for anyone that lives in a county. The point of this presentation is to let you know that most of the elected positions out there are not full-time jobs that lead to a career in politics. Most of the elected positions are part-time things that are very useful, that you can get with a couple of dozen or a couple of hundred votes, in other words, by talking to your friends and neighbors, and that can lead to a lifetime in politics or can lead to a career in politics if you're into that as a second or a third career, but do not have to. There are also things that you can do right now and make a difference where you are in your community. I'm going to try and do this pretty quickly, and then in the comments I'll leave a link to the presentation that I'm using where you can go and ask questions and I'll answer questions. So here we go. First of all, a disclaimer, this is not official. This is not officially blessed by any party or anything like that. This is just stuff that I Googled up because 3 weeks ago I had lots of questions. This is what I've learned. Some of it will be wrong. By all means, feel free to tell me what's wrong and correct it. So let's get started. Pennsylvania, where I am, has 67 counties. That's the biggest unit in Pennsylvania. Each county is divided up in a bunch of different ways in overlapping districts. For instance, I have 3 U.S. congressional districts in Chester County, Pennsylvania, the 6th District, the 7th District, and the 16th District. And then in the Pennsylvania State House, there are 4 Senate districts. There are also 9 PA State House districts. There are 14 school districts. There are 17 magisterial districts. That's how the court system is broken up. And there are 73 different municipalities, boroughs, towns, and cities in Chester County. That's a lot of stuff. So from where I'm standing right now, I am in all these things simultaneously. I'm in the United States, I'm in Pennsylvania, I'm in the 6th Congressional District, I'm in Chester County, the 19th Senate District, 156th State District, the Westchester Area School District, Borough of Westchester, 15104 Magisterial, Westchester Ward 5, and Precinct 846. What do those things have to do with each other? Not much. They all overlap. They are onion-skinned one on top of each other. But there is good news. The bottommost level of that, the precinct, is the building block. The precinct is what everything else is made of. So if you start by learning your precinct, pretty soon all of those other things will start making sense. So let's look at the precinct. My precinct happens to be number 846 in Westchester. You can see that there's some houses here, there's some housey things up here, there's a developmenty area over here, and then here's Westchester University over here. It's not huge. There are about 2,500 people in my precinct, and my precinct is the southwest corner of Westchester. The borough of Westchester is made of 7 precincts, roughly, very roughly, the same size as mine. Overall, Chester County is made of 227 precincts, and each precinct has anywhere between 1,000 to 2,500 voters. Let's take another look at my precinct, precinct number 846. Precinct 846 has 2,353 registered voters in 2016. Because there's a lot of college students that move in and move out and register and get off the rolls, that number goes up and down, anywhere from 2,300 to 1,800. But roughly there's 2,500 voters in there. Your precinct will likely be fairly similar. So we're not talking tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of voters. We're talking 1,000 voters. It's a manageable size. You can get to know the folks in your precinct. The turnout for primaries in your precinct, if your precinct is anything like my precinct, which it probably is not huge. So precinct 846 in 2015, there were 864 registered Democrats in my precinct and 81 Democratic ballots cast. 482 registered Republicans in my precinct, 32 Republican ballots cast. I'm saying this not to be gloomy about low turnout. I'm saying this to let you know that getting on the primary ballot and winning a primary ballot for your precinct is not a matter of hundreds of votes. It's not something you have to do with raising lots of money and putting out lots of yard signs and making it your new full-time job. A dozen votes, 20 votes, that's something that can get you into a precinct role. The stakes are very low at the precinct level, and that's a good thing because we need people to be involved in their precinct. So the precinct is the fundamental building block. Everything is made out of precincts, and learn your precinct. Your precinct has a committee leader for the Democratic Party, and it has a committee leader for the Republican Party. In fact, it probably has two of each of those things. The first step you should do is find out by Googling who your committee leader is and just introduce yourself to them if you don't know them already. When you talk about grassroots organizing, when you talk about grassroots engagement, your committee leader in your precinct is the person, the single most important person to get to know, because then they coordinate everything else. So let's look at all the precincts building up, let's look at all the positions starting at the precinct level and then building up from there. Starting at the precinct level, there are 1,589 precinct elected officials in Chester County, which I discovered right away after I'd heard that there were 600 elected positions. Turns out there's way more than that. Your precinct has 4 committee people, probably 2 Republican Party people and 2 Democratic Party people. Those are not full-on government officials. They are party officials, which is non-governmental, but the state of Pennsylvania allows them to be on primary ballots as a courtesy. So there are 4 of those folks. If your precinct does not have a committee person, you should become the committee person and then organize the grassroots level in your precinct. Then there are poll workers in your precinct. Poll workers are the people that run election day. When you go to vote, the people behind the tables are poll workers. The people running the machine are poll workers. They are not salaried government employees. They are elected officials that are making jury duty money to be there and make sure that the polls run smoothly. The sort of like staff leader, the shift manager, is the judge of elections. The judge of elections is there to make sure that all the rules are followed, that everything's fair, and it runs smoothly. That is an elected position. You could totally run for judge of elections. I am a judge of elections. I was appointed when the previous judge of elections moved out of my precinct, and I'm going to be running for that. It's probably not going to be contested. You could become judge of elections with a dozen or so votes. Inspectors of elections are there to make sure that the judge of elections is doing their job fairly. There's checks and balances. That's why there's a majority and the minority. Majority who's gotten the most votes, minority who gets the second most votes. And the minority inspector takes home a copy of all the paperwork at the end of the day for safety, to make sure that there's no shenanigans. And then Pennsylvania Constable, who is the law enforcement official, making sure that the polls are run smoothly and safely. So right there, 4 elected positions in your precinct. The precinct is small. You probably know a lot of the faces in your precinct at the supermarket. So right there, 1,600 elected positions just in your precinct. Moving up from the precinct to your municipality. There are 3 kinds of municipalities in Pennsylvania. There are townships, which are the smallest ones. Townships have an odd number of supervisors or commissioners. Boroughs have council members plus a mayor that is, the mayor is in charge of the police department. They're called a weak mayor. Then if you live in a city, you have a full-time mayor. Your township probably rotates its council members or supervisors. At least one of your supervisors is up for election this year. You could become a supervisor with a margin of a couple of hundred votes. With your friends, family, and neighbors and folks that you talk to, that could get you into the supervisor position. Supervisor positions are part-time. They are volunteer. They are really important for the smooth operation of your township. And just for instance, when Toll Brothers comes in and buys a big chunk of land and has plans to do stuff with it, what are the boundaries on what Toll can do? That depends a lot on what the Board of Supervisors has been doing in the 5 years leading up to that purchase. These are crucially important positions, and you absolutely can have one of them and be one of them without making some sort of giant life change. So municipal elected officials, 200 to 350 in Chester County. Moving on from municipal elected officials are school district elected officials. Your school district probably contains more than one municipality, and it has an odd number of school district directors. Those directors, just like the municipal boards, are staggered. your school district has at least one seat. Wherever you are listening to me from in Pennsylvania, at least one of your school district board members is up for election this year, almost always. These folks set teacher salaries in the school district. These folks set curriculum in the school district. These folks have an impact on taxes in your district. The Tea Party had a big impact on school boards 2 elections ago, and the moderates kind of came back from there. But a lot is going on in school districts. It is a vitally, crucially, hugely important position that is a part-time job. It is a time-consuming part-time job, but it is a hugely important job, and that's something that you can absolutely run for and win, not with a huge margin of votes. Moving up from school district is the judicial elected officials. The magisterial district judge is the first judge that handles the sort of like baseline of court stuff. Parking tickets, other stuff at the very base level of the courts. You do not have to be a lawyer in order to get this position. If you are elected to magisterial district judge, you need to take a 1-month full-time course, pass a very strict exam, at which point you can wear a robe and bang a gavel, and this is a full-time position, $88,000 a year in Chester County with great health benefits. The other judicial elected positions you do need to be a member of the bar for. So I won't go into those, but these are what they are: Judge of the Court of Common Pleas, District Attorney, Justice of the Commonwealth Court, Superior Court, and Supreme Court. The county elected officials at the county level, these are called row offices, probably because in the courthouse all of their offices were in a row in the hallway. There are 3 county commissioners who are like borough supervisors, except at the level of the county. And then there's a number of elected officials: coroner, clerk of courts, controller, treasurer, sheriff, register of wills, recorder of deeds, and prothonotary. These are all full-time jobs. These jobs are used as entry-level staging areas for people going on to higher office. Ryan Costello, the congressperson for District 6, was a county commissioner before going on to that role. The last time a Democrat happens to win a county row office position was 1799. Chester County is gradually getting more blue, and so it is just a matter of time until at least one of these positions is held by a Democrat. Would you like to be the controller? Would you like to be the clerk of courts? Those positions are open right now. There is not a person who has put their name in, as I'm saying this, on February 16th to run for that position. You could be the first one. Put your stuff in the comments. I'll help you out figuring about that. 11 row offices in Chester County. Then state elected officials, state representatives, 203 in Pennsylvania, state senators, 50 in Pennsylvania, state treasurer, auditor general, attorney general, lieutenant governor. All full-time positions for people that this is likely not their first job in politics. And of course, national positions, 7 in Chester County. 2 senators, 3 representatives, vice president, and president. Again, usually not the first position, which is why I want to go back down to the most important part, which is the precinct level, the grassroots level. So remember, of the 600 positions in Chester County, about 50 of them are full-time jobs that require a significant commitment, that you're going to be putting lawn signs out, you're going to be running really hard, you're going to be campaigning hard, and that is a job-type job that says, okay, politics is going to be the thing I'm going into. But 550, at least, that's without counting the party positions, are things that you can do while keeping your day job and that are hugely important and arguably make a bigger difference in people's lives than those full-time jobs. Election officials, supervisors, school boards. Here in Westchester, the Borough Council has been working on food truck rules, on rules about what licensing, if any, should be required for buskers in the town. Quality of life stuff, ordinances that really affect people's daily lives, those are part-time jobs that you can do. And if you're into that, all of them can be a path to higher office. They can be. My mother-in-law, Barb McIlvaine Smith, started out on Borough Council, went on to House of Representatives. Running for office is also useful practice. Even if you don't want to be an elected official for the rest of your life, or you're not sure about stuff, it's a really great way to get involved. Even if you don't think you're going to win a position, getting your friends and family to come out to the polls to pull the lever for you has a big halo effect. Carolyn Comita, the state representative for the 156th district where I am right now, won after a recount by a margin of 26 votes. If 26 people hadn't come to the polls, Carolyn would not be in the position right now. If you run for something and you're bringing people into the polls to vote for you, that has a halo effect of helping all the people on the ticket. And that can be a really good, important reason to run for office. So find your local committee person by Googling your county Democratic Republican Party. You'll have a local website that can help you do that. For instance, here in Chester County, chescodems.org is the Chester County Democratic Committee website. And if you go into your Dem Party and look under zones, you can find out who your local Chester County Democratic committee people are and give them a call and say, hey, I'm interested. I'd like to get involved at the local level. Do you need someone to run for judge of elections? Do you need someone to run for inspector of elections? I need somebody to run for inspector of elections in the precinct 846. In fact, I need 2 people. I'm going to try and pester Westchester students to do that. So thank you very much for listening. If this is working, you will have been able to hear me this whole time. Ask questions in the comments, and I will respond to them. And then I will start talking about what you can do to get on the ballot by filing a nominating petition and getting 10 signatures. That's it, 10 signatures for the stuff that you're going to run for. And then how you can start making sure that you get the 50% of the votes plus 1 that you need in order to get one of these positions. Thanks very much.